Me just with lip gloss on and nothing else. Slay.
No, you are slaying. Well, okay. The first question I wrote down, which is a quite obvious question, and I'm interested in both of your answers individually. Kyle, what was your favorite moment filming?
I think it was probably getting to that absolutely insane cabin place and seeing it properly for the first time. Because I think I'd like scouted a lot of the other locations or like sort of knew what I was in for in that regard. But I think it was realizing that there was absolutely no one on that mountain that we filmed on. It was literally the most desolate, apocalyptic place ever, which was really unexpected. And then knowing that we had that entire, I don't even know what you call it, like a cabin resort or something.
Like lodge, I guess.
Yeah, a lodge entirely to ourselves, and free to shoot absolutely whatever we want, which is unheard of because usually those places are like filled with other people and other, customers and guests and whatnot. And I think that was just like a really exciting moment to like be like, we have like full creative freedom to whatever we want on this mountain with literally no one else here. Kind of felt like
a set, like a purpose-built set almost.
Yeah, and still unheard of to this day. I've never experienced that again, so I think that was pretty cool.
So do you reckon if that wasn't the case, the video would be quite different, like if there were people staying there?
No, I don't think so, because those things, like challenges introduced in that way, also definitely foster like another creative outlet. It's like you just get a little bit more creative with how you shoot it and where you shoot it and what you use. But not having those obstacles is also a good thing. It's just a lot rarer not to have those obstacles because, usually you're having to like schedule and build around everyone else. And that was just, a very rare time. It was just like, even when we were shooting like on the mountain roads and we were just setting up in the middle of like the road because there's literally no cars, like
the truly freshly laid road, like
yeah
like fresh tar. We were shooting on fresh tar. Wow, good answer. Sam, what comes to mind for you?
Oh gosh, there's like so many things. I think you're right, Kyle. It was interesting recording at like the real tail end of a year where everything's so hectic and so busy and it was getting into summer and the weather was really warm and then we were just somewhere that was desolate and silent and it was like really, really cool. Like I agree, you almost feel like during that time it should be like, because it's even summer, I know we were at somewhere that's usually popular in winter, but it should be busy and it just wasn't. It felt like we'd hired out an entire kind of oasis for us to just play. And I think, my favorite parts, I don't know. I just think like, Kyle, you had such a vision in creating such a really, like a really succinct world. And it didn't feel like, and now we're going to set to film this. It felt really like, no, not to be a method actor. That's not what I'm saying. But I felt very much like, no, I'm the character and I'm just in this space. It is a set, but it almost doesn't feel like that. And I think that was really cool. Like that was great. And I think just the freedom to play on set was so fun. Like we had a schedule, but there was just a lot of room to kind of make shit up and see what happens. But it didn't feel directionless, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I think like like a lot of what you're saying, Sam, is bringing up for me like perhaps because of the isolation that we had, we were able to access that space. Yeah. And like if like just to comment on your answer before, Kyle, in the sense that like it might have looked the same if there were people there, but it definitely wouldn't have felt the same, I guess. Like
yeah.
And like it definitely like would have affected the performances and and I think like Sam, you saying that like you had all this freedom to play, I think that's a real testament to like you as an actor of like, I don't know if every actor's like froths that. And I think it's a vibe, like I think that's a lot of why, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I thought you'd be really good for this, but one of them is like your willingness to improvise and your like skill, your improvisation skill. And I think like the way I work creatively is obviously also quite improvisation based, and I think I would struggle if there was like a script or like rigid guidelines, and I think Kyle, you were great at facilitating that. I'm just throwing compliments out.
Love it.
I'm just like, wow, for you.
So
Yeah.
more.
But yeah, like my answer to this question, I do have like a specific moment, and it was. Do you guys remember when we were doing is it Blue Hour? That like,
Yeah.
there's two moments in that particular like hour of our lives. There was the first one was like, Kyle, you were so like, honestly, for the 3 days I was like, man, Kyle is so fucking chill. Like Kyle's really holding this together, and you were like shaking, and I was like, Kyle, do you want a coat? Like, are you cold? And you were like, no, I'm just really nervous. And I was like, holy fuck! It like that moment was when I was like, oh, like Kyle is not like, it was really, I don't know. I obviously saw you as a human, like, prior to working with you, but when I was working with you, I'm like, man, Kyle's a machine. And, like, that was a real moment for me of, like, oh, no, he's really good at his job, and he's really holding it together for us. And it was really nice. Like, that was a really nice moment for me, because I don't know, it just felt uniting in a way, and, like, made me appreciate you a lot. And then my second favorite moment in that hour was when Sam, when you were crying on the ground, when you're doing the fake cry, and then I started crying, and then we had the real cry. And I looked, Kyle sent me all of the footage, and I looked through it, and I looked at that scene, and it's just like Kyle, like, moving away, and then you could see him, like, rushing in and, like, positioning the camera, because we were like, wait, no, Sam's crying, we need this shot.
Yeah, all hands on deck, all hands on deck.
But yeah, I think those were two really special moments for me. I really like, and like the reason I cried was like, oh, it was just so, I guess because I've known you so long, Sam, it was just so like, it was like a life culmination moment of like, oh, if me and Sam 5 years ago could see this, we'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
If our little butts could see ourselves.
I
back when we were
know.
at uni, just trying to make it work at. Oh God, yeah.
Just really try to learn how to sing an altered scale.
In that dusty ass lecture theatre.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then here we are in front of a car with lights in it that would soon be fire. Digital fire.
Digital fire, way safer, less
way
warm.
safer. Although I will point out, when I first like brought this idea to Kyle promised me that we would set a car on fire. Like a real car, and I was like, Kyle, here's the budget, can you actually make this work? He's like, yeah, that'll be fine. I was like, and I was so excited to see a car be blown up, and I'm not that I'm disappointed with the result. I think the result was definitely much better in terms of safety and in terms of having anything else shot. But
yeah,
just want to point out, Kyle, you still owe me a car explosion in my lifetime.
it'll happen on the next one.
Okay.
We got to send this music video to that man that ran the lodge.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Do you have his contact?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I booked it like online, and then contacted him through the booking website because he didn't have like a phone number or an email. And then like the only message I ever got back from him was like, "Yes, fine. I will drive from Melbourne to open for you," and that was it.
What a legend. Shout out to that guy.
Shout out to that guy.
I'll send him. I'll track him down and send it to him. I'm sure he'd love it.
I feel like you need to make another song that we can do a video for, and we need to rewrite it for the experiences that we had making this video. Because like there's so much in it. Like the guy at the Food Works, like you go to the pub there and it's only filled with the same people you met. Like
I forgot about
that pizza place.
Guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. With the weird, they were kind of like not good pizzas.
No
offense.
And that man's like, man, I'm just stoned every day, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so stoned all the time. I was like, I guess that's what you do in a ski lodge in the summer, mate. Like, live your life.
There's literally nothing else to do. But that could be a movie. Like 3 people go to make a film on this like little nothing land where everything's apocalyptic.
Kyle, you're a fucking director.
The real question is, when are we doing the next one? So
when do we do? Look, look, it'll happen. I can't wait. I'm excited. There are things in the works.
Cool.
Love it.
Okay, question 2. This is a good question. What did you learn in the process? Like, what's the biggest takeaway that you got from the 4 days we had?
it was an interesting experience as an actor to create emotion that is purely visual. Like, I think I'm very used to, you know, I'm a sound bitch first. Like, so I think that was a really interesting experience, and to kind of strip away all like former preconceived ideas as to what like acting in a music video is, because I think there's like such a broad range, and it's like very easy to kind of, you know, go on YouTube and watch like a whole bunch of really popular music videos. But what was really cool is with this one, it's like I'm not mouthing the lyrics. It's not actually my song. I'm an actor like in this world, and it was like, yeah, finding that balance between the acting looking genuine, but then having that a slight layer of like heightened performance so that it translates well. And I think as well, this is like an interesting one, but I think it is very true. I really wanted to just like put my whole pussy in it, to be honest. I don't know if you can use those words, but I wanted to put my whole pussy in it so that not a single second of it looked like, and I know it's not this because you are a professional artist, James. I didn't want it to look like I got my mate Sam to act in my music video, because I didn't want it to have that kind of energy at all. I wanted it to be slick, and you know, you were paying Kyle, and Kyle has like such a vision and the songs to such a high standard. Like, you're a professional musician, Kyle, you're a professional director and like DOP, etc. So I just didn't want to bring any of that energy of like, I'm a mate that James knows that is kind of good on camera. Let's go film a music video, you know?
I mean, just to jump in, you're definitely like, I think you have the energy regardless of whether you're conscious of it or not. I think like one of your best qualities is that you take things so seriously, and you are, you know, a professional all the time. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely never felt like I was just getting Sam. I mean, apart from when we were hanging out, and I was like, oh, cool that I can hang out with Sam, my mate. You know?
Yeah. No, totally. But, yeah, I just didn't want it to have that energy, but it didn't at all. And the final product is divine.
I don't think for any moment in that video could you have felt like that, just because of your like sheer skill and talent. Like, I think it would be near impossible, even if you were coming into it and it was just like something that was meant to be like, oh, it's just my mate Sam being in the music video. It still wouldn't like.
Yeah, I think because what came across loud and clear to me was you in the video as well. Like, I think you had a really good way of playing a character, but like being yourself too, and that's what I wanted. Like, I think you're a captivating person. Obviously, everyone thinks so. So I'm glad that came through. Oh, okay, Kyle, what did you learn?
What I learned most was probably after the fact, and that is that like filmmaking doesn't have to be like a 20-person crew, and it doesn't have to be everyone having like a very specific role and like just like staying in your lane. And filmmaking can very much be 3 people, open source, or just sort of like working on it together. And I think like a lot of videos that I made, both before and after, were working with like a wider crew, where it's like, you know, you've got like a DOP, you've got an editor, you've got someone lighting it, you've got runners and all these people in this like production. And usually that means that you've only got like 1 day to shoot, and you're like actually quite limited, even though you do have the resources and all these like extremely talented people who do really well in their specific fields. And it's going to create something that feels like very polished and beautiful. But yeah, I guess going into this one, like the narrative was more important than having it look pretty. So it's like, well, let's just like spend the time. Let's do like 4 days. Let's do 5 days shooting, and just like strip back the crew, and we'll just like do it ourselves and just like work in the environment and just like make it happen. And I think it's one of my favorite videos that I've like ever made from like an experience perspective as well. And I think like, yeah, even now watching it come out, I kind of want to like go back to making films that way as well. I think that was the biggest takeaway from it. And I think it's taken like the entire year almost to set in.
To like process.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, interesting. If you could have an abundance of time or bodies, what would you choose? Bodies being like people to help, like crew.
Yeah, I definitely want to say time, but also
Right.
like infinite time usually means that like it'll never be finished. It's just like you can work on things forever and ever and ever. And like you'd be the same with music, James, you know, like
Yeah.
without a deadline, you can really like just take things and run. So in saying that, it would probably be bodies because it'll get finished.
I also love that like your answer kind of tells me that maybe this taught you that you can I mean maybe you knew this before, but I guess maybe it reaffirmed to you that you can do it all, like you can, like I guess it reaffirmed your ability to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's so frowned upon, and like
Right, interesting.
in the industry to like try and tackle all of those roles, because like you get to a point where it becomes very hard to do like more than one role, and you know, to make something that's considered like elite and award winning, you know, traditionally you're meant to use people who are so specific to like each part of the field. It's like, you know, bedroom pop now. It's like people are producing, writing, mixing, and mastering all their own stuff. And it's like you have one part of the industry that looks down on that, like, oh, but you can't be the best mixer, you can't be the best at mastering. But there's something about having a hand physically in each of those roles that like then make the video so special, because it's just coming from sort of like the one vision. And I think having all three of us attacking that, like it's very much our video. Hard to describe, but yeah.
No, I totally relate with the like creative process in music as well. Like, I mean, I think there are a lot of parallels between what you do and what I do, and it's like it's really nice to hear that you had that experience, and it's also nice to see that it does look elite and you did all of it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like when you are like just putting so much sheer passion behind it as well, and everyone else believes in it so much, like you're almost destined to make something that still is elite, because it's just what happens when it really comes from like deep inside you.
Oh, this is great. I love this. I love this. This is all my like warm and fuzzies are going off right now. It's so nice. It's so nice. Like, I think it's nice for me, just like I was watching the Football World Cup last night, and Tim, my housemate, was saying like, isn't it amazing? Like, there's this event that just brings people together. And like on a smaller scale, obviously this isn't the Football World Cup, but it's like, oh, I made this song and like it's brought all of these talented people to like, we're all like, oh, this is kind of gross, but you know, like in Avatar, they have those ponytails that like fucking little tentacles. It's like we're all putting our tentacles into like the computer and like putting our creative energy like equally into this thing. And it's interesting for me as well, because I made the music so long ago that this video, it felt kind of detached for me. Like it didn't feel like I was really contributing, because I was like, oh, I'm hanging out and this is my song, but like I'm not really doing anything except for when I was an extra. So yeah, it's interesting, like the feelings that are coming up for me when you guys are like, oh, it's our video. I'm like, oh nah, but it kind of like, objectively it is our video, but like for me it really felt like watching you guys doing it, which was really nice for me.
Imagine if you said, yeah, you guys like it's our video, and I'm like, oh, I think it's mine.
Oh, just we'll get the lawyers on. Can I just copy my lawyer?
You guys are contracted for this thing, but nah, it is mine.
Which moment in the final product in the video speaks to you the most?
I want to say sitting in front of the fire and throwing the pills at the, you know, there's just so much that's really encapsulates the whole video, like that little 20-second segment. But I also really love that all these like little moments of you like striking the matches and blowing them out and sort of looking at them, like when there was the little bit of like the Joker behind you, sort of this like little crazy fruition. And yeah, there's just like, and this is like a great testament to your acting, Sam. You can just see so many like emotions coming to the surface, and it's just like they're all like battling, because it's like when you are in that position as a person in the world, and you're like wanting to leave like the old world, the old you behind, and you want to like come into something new. You like really do feel all of those emotions, and it's just crazy. In that like part of the video, you can see them like projecting through your acting. And I think that's just like incredible to see you fighting all of this, like, oh, I'm having fun, I'm going crazy, I'm depressed, this is the worst thing in the world. No, this is actually like really liberating. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I guess it like highlights the turbulence of change, or the turbulence of transition.
It's a beautiful way to put it.
It also, you saying that reminds me of like when you're listening to a song and there's just like there's the 2 bars before the last chorus that you repeat over and over again because something fucking sick happens. It's like that in this video. It's like that 20 seconds where you're like, fuck yeah, go Sam.
Yeah. It's the heart rate going.
Okay, Sam, what's your favorite moment in the final video?
I think, oh gosh, I feel like I have the exact same answers as you, Carl. I'll tell you what it's not. It was when I had to try. It's when I had to try and get to play pool. And it was the final shot. And Kyle was like, nah, we need to get this, all right? Like, we actually need to get this shot. And I was like, totally. I've never felt more unskilled in my life. You just need to make it look like you're getting a ball to move a centimeter. And I'm like, totally. Like, not a single clue. So that's my least favorite part.
I think that moment as well for us was so funny because it's such a juxtaposition to the last 3 days of just being like, wow, Sam is fucking nailing this. And it was like, and like old mate was like waiting at the door, like really, really wanted to close up his bar. And we're like, all right, we just really need you.
Fuddy-duddy tavern.
I know, it was so cute. He was telling us about the Coke, the things around the lights, the little the Coca-Cola ones, and Sam's like really trying to hone in on her billiards skills.
But like when you watch that movement, you know when you feel movements in your body, because I don't hit it properly, I go, ugh, every time I watch it. It's like I have such a visceral reaction. No, my favorite, it was really fun being a bit manic and kooky, just like in the lodge, around the bedroom and around the hallway. And you guys just kind of like watching that back. It was really cool to see like kind of a quick paste of like so many different kind of ideas from improv, which I think is like really beautiful. But I think like the most like profound moment is absolutely when I'm like sitting there when we were filming the kind of scene that we were filming the scene where I throw the pills. And it's weird because it eerily like coincides with like a week before we went to film this music video. Like I decided I'm giving up alcohol until and it was just like really bizarre. I look back on it and I'm like, oh, that really is like almost like the marker of my sobriety. And it's weird how there's kind of like parallels in the storyline. So it felt emotional. And I think like whilst at the start, you know, there was like fake crying to try and get the emotion to come out. And then I saw you cry. It's like, I think a lot of the emotion that came through was like quite genuine and quite personal. And I think it's cool to kind of not bring trauma, because it's not that, but, you know, bring personal experience to it and connect to it in that kind of way.
Yeah, totally. It's really nice to hear that, like, it was personally significant for you as well. Like, and it's nice to, like, I don't know, like, reflect and be like, oh, this is like this life event that's completely like my own decision, and like we didn't know about it. It's like nice that there's like a little line up there.
Totally.
It's the universe being like, hey, here you are. And how is your sobriety going?
It's slay. It's nearly a year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Living life. It's like I can't help but notice that as soon as I stopped, my career's gone hectic in the best way. So I'm just gonna say that one impacts the other like that, you know. Totally. Yeah. What about you, James?
What's my favorite moment in the video? You know, actually, I have a different answer to you guys. My favorite moment is not watching me as an extra, but also that's so insignificant to the video. But I so remember that experience of like the last time I did drama was in like year 11, and it was truly playing. Do you know that game? I think it's called Ninja. You know, when you put your hands in the middle and then you like come out and you have to hit each other's hands. Nope. All right. That's
I know some other ones, but not that.
But basically like improv games.
Right.
That's like my last experience. And then Kyle's like, yeah, so just just have a conversation with the person sitting across from you. My brain, like all my insecurities came up. I'm like, wait, but there's no person. So how can I say anything interesting? Because they're not saying anything to me. Like, I can't just make things up. And it so puts me in the shoes of like, I actually had this experience when I went to a dance class in London as well, of like, when people get in front of instruments and I'm just like, oh, just play anything. And they're like, no, but I can't. And in my brain, I'm like, no, but you can, just put your hands down. And it's like, I don't know, all art is kind of, all creativity is kind of synonymous in a way. And like, it's nice to be in the position of someone who doesn't feel confident in themselves in an art form again. It like really like makes me grateful for how I feel about music, how I can just sit down and do whatever. So that was my not favorite moment. But my favorite moment, I actually really love, Sam, you like the way you're dancing at the end. Like, I think in terms of like video arc, that it's like there's so many like still shots leading up to that, and it's just so nice. I mean, because there were no handheld shots, everything was tripod, right, Carl?
Yeah.
So it's so nice, like at the end, just to feel that motion and just to like in all the quick cuts, and the way Kyle put it together, like with the little montage of you like back in the office and like all the sound and everything. I just think that's such a welcome, like I feel like there's been this tension building the whole song, because the song's got motion, and it's like you're watching the video and then you've watched this like minute cutscene, and then I don't know, there's just such a release that I get, and like that's the moment. I mean, I usually get goosebumps before that moment, but that's the moment where I get full body and I'm like, this is, and it's like such a good way to end the video as well, on like, because there's also this like cognitive dissonance of like, whoa, this is a happy song, but this video like looks happy, but isn't. There's like some like unnerving energy underneath the whole time, and like those quick cuts at the end of you dancing and you on that shot of you on the pool table is just like this release of just like, that's when you leave your past self behind, you know? That's how it feels to me, at least. It's like bloody beautiful. So good. And you get to see the lake too. I think the lake was such a beautiful shot as well.
Yeah. It's such like a juxtaposition to the rest of it. Especially, I think that emulates that feeling the most as well. Like, I think the shot on the pool table to me is stronger, like emotionally, because it's sort of this like triumphant, like hands in the air is basically the metaphor, but you're holding up the pool cue. But it's in this like dark, dingy tavern, as opposed to the lake, which like visually the actual scenery is like, sort of a metaphor for like the clear landscape that's going on inside your head. It's like you've got this clarity now. It's cool.
And as a side note, my other favorite moment is Loz. Loz being
so
the fitness
I
instructor.
forgot about that.
Oh, she's the best.
She's so cute in that. So cute.
She looks so cute all the time. She's the best. But it's just so, it's also, I mean, for context, Loz is my partner and Sam is the person that introduced us. So it's like significant, like within my life of like, oh, there's my significant other and the person who introduced me to my significant other, and they've been friends since they were like 7 or whatever. And it's just like, there's all these like personal Easter eggs, like also Grace being in the video as well. It's just like all of these, because it was such a small team, there's all of these like personal Easter eggs for me that I'm like I'll watch this video in like 10 years and be like, oh, this is so nice. Like, all of these significant figures in my life are like represented on a screen at one time. Yeah,
it's really cool.
So yeah, I think as much as the video like turned out really well as a product, I think as an experience in my life, I think it's more valuable for sure for me. Whether it gets 2 million or 200 million views, it's like, I think the value in it for me will always be the experience, which is like maybe a trite and cliche thing to say, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think a lot of, that's the other thing. I think a lot of artists definitely are more passionate about like that figure at the end of it. And, I've definitely worked with artists in the past who wouldn't, if it was a narrative where they're not required to be in the video clip, they wouldn't be there.
Right. Interesting.
So, and it's made, it's you might see, I think a lot of, your artist friends are really beautiful people just like yourself. So you probably might not see that side of it, but there's definitely artists out there that exist that their ultimate goal is to not like create something like we did. It's definitely like, oh, it's going to help us get numbers.
And do you like, as the director, Kyle, does that energy, do you feel that energy, like how strongly do you feel that energy whilst you're like editing and like whilst you're, you know, because I feel like when I'm making music with people who want to make the best music with nothing else in mind, like it's just so much easier to work on. Did you have that experience as well?
Well, I would say that working with an artist that's maybe like more removed from the video than someone like yourself, and like 90% of the artists that I work with, it doesn't really change too much, because you know it then just sort of becomes like more of like your video in a way. Like there's no one to bounce ideas off, so you just sort of like retreat to your own ideas, or like with friends or something. So I don't think the experience changes that much in like that respect, and it's not like I dislike it, but it will never ever be the end result like something like this clip, because and you just never have as much fun. It's never like the clip that you remember most. It's never the one that you want to tell stories about. It's never the one that you like want to show people. So there's a lot to be said for you know, yourself being so involved in it, from literally like the first coffee talking about it to like even now, like still talking about it. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I was involved. It's so funny. I'm actually just behind me. You mentioned the coffee, and I just like had this like flashback to like all of the brainstorm. Like I remember me and Sam got together at one point and we like designed her character. We gave her a name. It was so cute.
So cute. At that golf course. Oh, no, not golf course.
No, it was right next to a golf course.
It was right next to a golf course.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail is so important for a film like this, and a narrative, and like trying to create a narrative film that like really speaks to the song as well. Like it really, like, sometimes there is no crossover, but this is very much like the song and the video are like so tightly knit that you need to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because like I agree, and it's hard to feel that way whilst you're doing it, at least for me, because like for example, like a lot of the details that Sam and I like brainstormed like didn't end up in the final thing, but it's like I think just putting your brain in that space of like being that zoomed in just like cultivates this attitude when you're going in of like, oh, we've thought about all of these things, and like whether the exact things we've come up with are used or not, it's all really valuable.
100%. Yeah, and you find a lot of that stuff also lives in your subconscious, especially when you're developing a character. Like it might not even be stuff that you use necessarily, like paper to script, like, oh, she does these actions because for this reason. Even if those things like don't make it into the cut or the scene, it's like all of that still lives in your subconscious on like how you see the rest of it. And I think, people would be surprised how much that can like affect other parts of the film. Even in like color and styling choice, like, you know, so much about the character that when you get to all these like other decisions, without that work, regardless if it contributes to like the script or not, it will influence like, oh, well, we know what she wears 100%, or like, oh, she wouldn't drive that car, or like she wouldn't do this, she wouldn't do that. I guess doing all of that like decision making beforehand makes it like obvious. I guess it personifies this person, like it makes them real. And like the choices seem obvious after that. Well, okay, I have one more question, which is less related to the video, more related to just like your opinions or your thoughts. But so I'm going to say a phrase and I want to know what comes up for you. Okay, when I say feelings worth living for, what do you think of?
No, I'm not going to try and do like a profound answer. I'll just do what comes to my head. I think of like booking that flight to see that person that maybe it seems crazy to go and see because you don't know them very well, but you just feel this like pull towards them physically, even if you don't know them well and you think that everyone around you would be like, you're so silly, or you've got your head in the clouds. I think that kind of stuff, like, yeah, just making decisions like that, and not being embarrassed by them, and going with your heart. I think we often say like it's, it's better to think with your head. I like always go heart first. And I like wouldn't have it any other way. And yes, sometimes I make mistakes. And yes, sometimes I look back on myself and go, oh my God, or I read back to old journals in the way that I wrote about certain crushes and I go, my God, I'm an idiot. But like, I also regret none of it, because like the feelings that I have in those moments are so valid that if I'm rapidly typing on a notes app about it, like it obviously means something to me and meant something to me. Yeah. I don't know. That was a shit answer.
That was a great answer. I think that was low key profound. Okay. I mean, you're saying that like, well, no, I'm not going to sum up what you're saying. You said what you said. Yeah. It was beautiful. Thank you, Sam.
No
Kyle,
worries.
Thank you, Sam.
What comes up for you? Feelings worth living for.
The first word was contentness, which I thought was strange, and then second to that was friendship. And again, not to go like too profound. I've tried like not to think about it while Sam was giving me a beautiful answer, but I think a lot of that comes from, and I think all three of us will feel it a lot, and it's sort of like, the sheer pressure we put on ourselves in our sort of like creative field and our work, and I think a lot of that comes from like being really passionate and knowing what we're capable of like making. And so we put the pressure on ourselves to make sure we're like really pushing to make something amazing, which in light is, it's a feeling in itself that's like so incredible, but also, just the pressure and sort of feeling stress. I feel like what I value most, especially at the moment, is like just feeling content and just like at a place of peace. And it's sort of like, you've really got to start to separate the art, and the making from like who you are, because otherwise you get like too internalized on the pressure and you just like become like a machine heading towards creating great art, but it's like sacrificing friendship and your own contentness. It's not a good thing. So I think those two things are like really overlooked and to be valued.
That answer,
and also like in other people. And I say that because like I felt that a lot, while making this video. I think, as you mentioned, like you're like, he's so chill. He's like not stressed at all when we're making it. And I think that was like, because I didn't feel any pressure. So I just like the friendship and the contentness that we all had fostered like a really great working environment. But then there's also that like little bit where we're doing the fire shot and whatever. And it's like, we've spent so long making this video, like the pressure's really on to make sure that this is like going to be 100%, because we really want it to be like something so special. I think contentness and friendship.
Wow. That's really, I mean, for me, that's really nice to hear from you, that like, because to me, like my experience with you is like you work probably the hardest out of anyone I've ever met. And it's like, I think coming from, a really driven creative person, that they're prioritizing contentment and friendship. I think that's fucking amazing. And peace. Like, I think you're right. Like we live, especially like us three, like we live where we have to create to make a living, and we have to, create all the time. There's so much pressure on that. And there's so much guilt that lives, at least for me, there's so much guilt that lives in doing anything but that. Yeah, and like I'm in a similar place to you, Kyle, in the sense that like I'm really just trying to be a human every day, and not just.
Well, you have to be, right? Because like you just can't. And I've heard so many, stories and examples of this, where people work all their lives, put so much pressure on themselves to like reach something better than what's now, and you get sick or something really bad happens, and it's like you lose the end prize, and you look back on your life and it's just filled with like stress and pressure. And it's like, I feel like we all have to work to find balance in that, to make sure that doesn't happen. You can still enjoy life under the pressure leading up to like the amazing thing that you want to make, or like what the end goal is and like what you want to give the world.
Totally. Yeah. Your creative output isn't negatively affected by getting a coffee with your friends and asking them about their lives and fucking chilling out.
Yeah. I feel like you've got the balance like just absolutely on key of like being able to play golf and make music.
my golf music balance is really really that's funny.
It is admirable though.
I'm glad
I also learned that a bit from you, James, probably.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I'm glad. Did you take up golf? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've definitely taken up just like sitting and staring at the wall and like being okay with not working. Just be like,
yes.
It's all right. I can do this.
Yes. Slay, Kyle. We love sitting and staring at the wall. I reckon that's a great pastime. Trees are good to stare at too.
Yeah. Way more interesting.
It depends what you've looked at for the last two days.
Depends on the wall.
Yeah, it depends on the wall. There are some banger walls out there.
Also true.
Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, not only sharing yourselves in our video, but sharing yourselves here in the sequel to our video, the surprise.
Thanks so much for having us.
Of course.
No,
thanks for having us, and we'll do it again soon. But also no pressure. If there's someone else that you think can play pool better, I will pass my shitly baton across.
the pool baton.
Yeah, the pool baton. Well, the fact that I called it a baton tells you everything.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. Love you both.
Mwah.
Much love.
Pleasure.
See ya.